Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're safe and well. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at a rifle scope that you may not have seen before to see whether it's any good for airgun shooting. So let's roll those titles. A short while ago I received a comment to one of the videos on my channel from a company called Arken Global, asking me whether I'd be interested in reviewing one of their scopes. Now, if you're like me and you spent any time on YouTube, you're probably familiar with the name Arken because of a new day-night hunting scope that has been reviewed quite a lot by a lot of people, but didn't really know anything about their normal rifle scopes. So I took a look at their site. It seemed to me that their scopes are quite popular in America, and they are principally scopes for hunting rifles and big target rifles like centerfire and rimfire rifles. Not necessarily particularly for air guns. So anyway, I started a conversation with them on email and said, look, you know, as they're aware, if they'd seen my channel, I'm principally interested in air gunning, and more specifically HFT. So they said, well, take a look at our range of scopes and have a look to see if there's anything there that you think would suit your needs as an HFT shooter, and we'll send you one to take a look at. So that's what I did, and just received a well packaged scope arrive in the post. So we're going to take a look at it and you see what you think. Before we go any further, in the interest of transparency, as I've said before, I try and be as honest and transparent as I can on my videos. I should point out that I was sent the scope free of charge, but I haven't been paid by Arken Optics to do this review or make this video, and also they've not placed any restrictions on my review. So basically I clarified with them beforehand, and I'm free to say whatever I want about it. So that being said, let's move on. This is the scope then. It is an EPL4. It's a 4:16 by 44 scope, which means that it's got a magnification range from 4 times to 16 times and an objective lens diameter of 44 millimeters. It's got a 30mm tube. What did it come with? Came with rather handy little rubber lens caps, which I quite like, sunshade, an Allen key for adjusting the turrets, the obligatory lens cleaning cloth that you always get with a new scope, a couple of stickers, and the owner's manual. So why did I pick this particular model? Well, from what I could make out, there are only 2 models in the range that have the 30mm tube. All the rest are 34mm, and as I've already got 30mm scope mounts, it made sense to you know, go with the standard 30mm. As you know, most scopes you probably come across for air guns are either 30mm tube or 1-inch 25mm tube, so that made sense. And also this was the smallest objective lens. As you can imagine, if you want to keep your potential parallax error at its minimum, then a smaller objective lens helps. So there is another one of these, another EPL that I think it's another EPL4 that's got a 50mm lens and a different range of magnification. So this was the nearest that I could get for a sort of a standard spec for a sort of general purpose airgun scope, if you like. So that's the scope then. Let's have a quick look at all the little bits and pieces on it, and before we stick it on a rifle. Let's take a closer look at this then, starting from the eyepiece. So you've got the diopter ring, which is used for focusing the reticle, and as you can see, this, you can see there's this quite a firm turn on this. I mean, it's not, it's tight, not stiff. It moves smoothly but firmly, and I think I quite like that. Once you've set your reticle focus, then you're not going to want that to move off inadvertently. So the fact that it's quite firm there gives you a little bit of sense of security that it's going to stay where it is. Moving up then, we've got the magnification ring, and so you can see there that the magnification goes from 4 round to 16, with a line indicating there where your magnification's set. Again, this is quite very smooth, like the the first dial, very smooth, but quite tight, so that's not going to inadvertently move off your setting. There's no indent on any of the magnifications, so I would think that if you're going to want to, if you're hunting and you're going to want to change your magnification, you might want to consider putting a lever, attaching a lever to there. And I think Arken actually sell one for their scopes that will go on there and make it easier for you to adjust the magnification when you want to. But as I shoot at a fixed mag, normally 10 mag, which I've set that, then that's not really an issue for me. Moving up to the turrets then, starting on the left, we've got the side focus and the illumination for the reticle. It's a red reticle. I don't know how much of it illuminates, we'll have to check that out, but you basically got the battery compartment there. Didn't come with a battery. Then you've got the illumination brightness adjustment, and there are 6 levels of brightness with an off position at each one, and there's a little arrow there to show you where the setting is. So that will be on, that will be off, on and off. So we'll have to check what the reticle looks like, and get a battery, sort that out. Just a point on there, when I first started to adjust this dial here, it was pretty solid and I couldn't move it, and I think that was just sort of like probably how it comes from the factory. So just put a pair of rubber gloves on that, and then once I got it to move once, you can see moves perfectly okay now. So at first I thought that I might have been broken, but it wasn't. So it was just comes straight out the factory, just needs moving a bit to loosen it up. Side focus goes from 10 yards, as you see, quite nice and clearly marked, from 10 yards all the way up to infinity. Moving up onto the top turret then, nice big chunky turret. Each click is 0.1 MRAD as marked on there, and you can see there's a 0 stop. Now at the moment the 0 stop's not functioning because that grub screw's unscrewed out. But what that does basically is if you screw that in, then the turret won't go below the 0 mark on your turret. So if you're hunting and you want to extend your range and shoot further than your 0, then you can adjust your turret, and then when you wind it back, it will hit the 0 stop, and you'll know you're back on your 0 range. So I guess that's a useful feature if you're hunting and you're not using holdovers. These 3 grub screws around the top hedge there, if you loosen those, you can, once you've set your 0, you can return the 0 mark to the beginning, so that you know your markings are showing a true your 0 on your scope. If you have a listen to that, I'll put it up to the mic so you can hear the clicks. Nice, solid, definite clicks there for adjustment, which is good. Moving over to the elevation turret, then you can see, look, it's quite, doesn't stick out a great deal, which from an HFT perspective is good, because you don't want your elevation turret knocking on the peg or getting in the way of the peg. And it is covered. This cover looks like it's made of plastic, so you can either cover it or leave that off. Oh, I didn't mention that nice little feature that you don't always see is the directions are marked on the turret for going up. A lot of the time they put them on the top, and when I'm zeroing on my rifle, I'm having to like tip the rifle up and look over the top to remind myself which way to turn the turret to go up and down. So that's handy. And I noticed that they've also done that on the windage for the on the windage turret as well. You see you've got right and left marked on there, which is always handy. Unlike the elevation turret, there's no grub screws to adjust this. What you do is you can unscrew that little bit at the end there, and that loosens the collar, so that you can re-zero the collar on the turret once you've set your 0. Which is nice. Let's stick that back on. This was a nice touch as well. They put a sticker on there telling you what the maximum torque is for the tube, so you don't damage the tube. This says it's 18 inch-pounds, which I checked the conversion. That's 2 Newton meters, which is what my torque driver sets in Newton meters. 2 Newton meters. But as I use sports match mounts, the maximum torque that they recommend on their mounts for scope rings is 1.7 Newton meters. So this is well within, so that's well within the tolerance for this scope. I guess if you're shooting sort of heavy recoil rifles like centerfire rifles, then your torque settings are going to be a bit higher, which is say what these scopes were designed to endure. So certainly you're not going to have any problems using this scope on a recoiling Springer sub 12 at all. It's not going to cause you any concerns about damaging the scope. So that's the scope then. Features all look pretty, pretty good. So we'll stick it on a rifle and have a look through it and see what we think. I realised that I didn't mention the length and the weight. Now, according to the manual that I've got in front of me, it says it's 13.2 inches and 23.85 ounces. Now, just to give you some comparison, I've got my Optizan EVX here, and if I line them up, you can see they're basically the same length. I did weigh them on my kitchen scales, and the Arken actually came in a slightly lighter, but not significantly. So basically, you can take from that this is no longer or no heavier than most airgun scopes of this format that you'll find. Okay, so got the scope mounted on the AS400. See, I've added the sunshade to the scope. Also, you notice here I've got a side shot scope cam attached to the scope, so I can show you what it looks like actually viewing through the scope. Bear in mind, this does work on a prism system, so what you see in the video is not going to be as clear as the light directly through the scope because of the way that the prism works. So what we're going to do then is we're going to have a look at the focusing mechanism. We're going to look at the magnification and the reticle, and see what we can see.
Here's a still shot of the reticle taken through the scope at 25 yards. The magnification is set at 16 times, and those spinners you can see on the left you've got a 10mm and a 20mm spinner, and on the right a 15mm and a 25mm spinner to give you an idea of scale. This is taken of my backstop, which is usually in the shade, so you can see even at that magnification and that distance how much light is still coming in to the scope.
Okay, so we're looking at a piece of paper at 25 yards with 1mm dot markings on. Now we know that at 100 yards 1mm dot is 3.6 inches, so therefore at 25 yards 0.9 inches. So I've made these marks on a vertical line at 0.9 inches, and you can see that they line up, they clearly line up with the mil dot marks on the reticle. We're currently at 16 times magnification. I just want to show you one of the benefits of a first focal plane scope, which is what this is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom down from 16 down to roughly 8, and as you can see, as I zoom out with the magnification, the reticle is reducing in size, but the measurements stay the same. So you can see once you've worked out your holdovers, if you want to change your magnification at any time, you don't have to recalculate them, you can just use the same holdover points. Now if this was a second focal plane scope, which are the more common that you probably use, then as you zoom in and out with the magnification, the reticle will stay the same size. So any adjustment you make in your magnification means that you've got to make an adjustment in your holdovers. So just thought I've explained that before in a previous video, but to actually see it through the scope makes things a lot more clearer. Now if you see you think you're seeing anomalies like light flashing across the picture, the video, it's not the scope. What it is every time I move my eye away from the back of the scope, the light shines in through the ocular, and that causes that anomaly. So it is to do with the side cam and the lens on the side cam, not to do with the scope. Okay, hope that makes sense. Well, it's a club shoot day, and this is the time of the year when we have a special competition on the 4th Sunday in January called the Winter Diabolical, when basically the HFT rulebook goes out the window. So what I did is I thought I'd bring the scope down on the S400, shoot the S400 in the woods. I wanted to see how well the scope performed in the varying light conditions in and out the woods. So we're going to shoot a few targets, and hopefully I can get this scope cam to work properly and you can see what I see through the scope.
I'm shooting these targets after the competition is over, and here you'll see what is a typical Cambridge Diabolical target. Now I shoot at 10 times mag with up the peg with the butt of the rifle on my shoulder, so you might think that my reticle moves an awful lot, but bear in mind that the scope image from the through scope videos have been enlarged for this video, so that's going to magnify any movement, and when I'm actually looking through the scope it doesn't seem to move as much as it might seem here. Now on this target you'll notice when I take the shot my aim point is too far over to the right, hence the miss. So decided to take it again and actually aim directly in the kill zone, which is always a good idea, and this time got the desired result. Yeah, I do miss occasionally. This is a new feature of our course, the tool shed. Gives us a variation for the supported standing shots. shooting through the window rather than leaning up against a tree. I think this lollipop target was out somewhere around sort of 40 yards. Now this target, I had no problems knocking this over during the competition, but could I shoot it while I was recording? Must have taken about 3 or 4 shots at it and it still wouldn't go over. The next target is the infamous Shepref man on his swinging beam. The kill zone is actually his head above the shoulders. Very much donut territory, this one, but not this time. Here's another Diabolical target. Short range inside a mesh box, so the mesh is all out of focus. Another close range shot. This had to be taken kneeling because the log was in the way, so it wasn't visible prone. I think I ranged this one at over 40 yards due to the focus. It was only either a 15 or a 20mm kill. Happy with that one. This target's looking through the woods out into the fields, so a lot more affected by the wind. The kill zone's actually got a hole drilled through it, so it's another Diabolical target. First shot of this one, clearly didn't give it enough for the wind. Made an adjustment for the second go, and over she goes. Here's the last peg I'm going to show you then. Right backbreaker this one was. Quite close range, but well high up above the tree. Fortunately the peg was quite a tall peg, so you could just about balance the rifle on top of the peg and get the angle you needed to get on target.
Well, I'm back home then, and must say, what a great day shooting that was. And it did give me a really good opportunity to let as many shooters at the competition have a look through this scope and check it out, so I could get some feedback on it. And surprisingly, there was nothing negative. No real negative comments about it at all, which actually having used it is no surprise really, because it's not a bad bit of kit. Generally people were saying that the price was good. A lot of them hadn't heard of Arken optics before, which I can understand. And they were saying it was, how bright it was. Somebody commented that the no bleed on the illuminated reticle certainly lets in a lot of light. So to round things up then, from my perspective, very good scope, solidly built. I mean, this replaced on this rifle a Hawk Vantage, which was my old reliable, and to be honest, I think this scope's going to stay on this rifle for a good while. I'll get some lower rings because I've still got quite a bit of clearance in the scope height here, so I can reduce that a little bit. It's going to help with my aim points, holdovers. Yeah, I like the big chunky turrets. I like the fact that the windage turret is small and tucked out of the way. They're easy to adjust. I had no problems getting the 0. This is the first FFP, first focal plane scope, that I've ever used. I've not even looked through one before, and I was pleasantly surprised. I can see that not necessarily say for HFT where we're using fixed magnification, but for if I'm out in the field using this rifle for hunting or doing a bit of target shooting, then I could see the benefits of that. But the main thing, the biggest surprise for me is probably the reticle. I mean, I've been a bit negative about reticles with broken lines on them before. I mean, I've used both the SCB reticle and the MH10 reticle, and I found a problem with those is that there's no mark at a 1/2 mil dot. And for me, my 1/2 mil dot aim point is usually sort of a 35 yards. So it's, you know, it's quite an important aim point to have. And the other broken reticles that I've used doesn't have any horizontal mark or any significant, you know, mark at that half mil dot point. You're just using the end of a line, which on a fine reticle I find very difficult. Which is why I've tended to favour the just the straight half mil dot, which at times certainly on my Vantage can be a little bit too thick. But the AMX reticle on my Hawk Air Maxes, that's a line with no breaks in. I've favoured that. So it's a pleasant surprise to use this one and find, you know, around the centre of the crosshairs, you just got a dot rather than crosshairs, and it's all quite open. But then you get to the half mil dot point and they have put a mark on the reticle. So, you know, I found that really easy to use, and it was quite nice not having that clutter of a crosshair in the centre of the reticle. That was a bit of a revelation. I was worried that because it was so fine, it would get lost in some of the targets. But you've seen the footage for yourself. You can see that you know, I didn't feel that the reticle got lost in the kill zone on the HFT targets at all. So I would say, really, you know, if you're looking for a good all-round airgun scope, this certainly fits the bill. I mean, normally you'd pay premium price for an FFP scope. So, I mean, this can clearly hold its own on an HFT course. I think with the zero stop and the easily adjustable elevation turret, it's no problem dialing in your ranges if you're hunting, if you didn't want to use a holdover. And you've got that little dot in the middle of the reticle for you know, bench rest or for target shooting. I mean, if you did want to go for the bench rest to target shooting route, then probably you'd be looking at the bigger version of the EPL4, which is the 6 to 24 by 50. So you've got a bit bigger objective and you've got more magnification. So at the time of recording this video, then, price-wise, on Arken Optics site at arkenoptics.uk, their UK-based stock is available. This scope is available for under £300 with free shipping, and it also comes with a lifetime warranty. So yeah, I would seriously recommend that if you get the chance to check this scope out, because I like it a lot. And if you're going to be visiting the upcoming British Shooting Show towards the end of February, I believe Arken Optics have got a stand there, so there's a good chance that you'll get to have a look at this and the other scopes in the range. Check them out for yourself. But you know, as they say, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. And having looked through this and seen how bright it is, how clear the glass is, and how easy. I mean, just the one thing with these, you might have noticed on some of my other videos that I use a scope enhancer, because I do find that I struggle with my eye alignment. You know, getting my eye in the right position so you've got that crisp black circle, so that you know that your eyes are lined straight and you're not going to experience any parallax. And I had no problem with this without the scope enhancer. You know, the picture through the diopter is pretty easy. You know, it's I found it very easy to establish a good, you know, good eye line on this. So there we go then. That is the EPL4 4 to 16 by 44 scope. Hope I've given you enough information so you can make your own mind up about it. As I say, if you get the chance, have a look through one, and you know, yeah, you'll see. It's I think it's quite a good scope. So that's all I've got for this video then. I've not reviewed a scope before, so I didn't really have much of a clue of how to do it. So I hope that I covered all the bits and pieces that you'd want to know about it, and I hope you found it interesting. We got a bit of shooting in and through the scope shooting, which I haven't done before, which was interesting. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that, found it interesting, and I'll see you on the next one, hopefully. Bye for now.